with me. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Hey, anybody who has not given me a smile yet, please do. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, friends, I'm particularly glad to do this session with you all because usually most teaching in palliative care is for professionals. I genuinely feel that palliative care is not something that can be done by professionals alone. You will find, if you have not experienced it already, someday you yourself being a palliative care practitioner in your own home, or a grandparent, an uncle, an aunt, a parent. Sorry to talk about unpleasant things, but that's the reality. All of us will need palliative care in our families and sometime for ourselves even. So professionals are essential, but the community very often can do more. And as an individual, even if it's not about your own family, in your neighborhood, I'm sure you will be able to lend a hand and do much more than professionals to ease a pain, or a pain either in the body or in here. Today we are going to talk about end of life care. Uh, I will start by showing a slide which Sridevi will share with all of you who have an email ID or a WhatsApp message. And the first one, this is something that I would like you to do at some point of time. The first one introduces a report of the famous Lancet Commission on the Value of Death, which was published in 2022. It's a long report, but it's available online for free access. And at least read the executive summary and the key messages and action points. And if you find a few more minutes, please also scroll, turn the pages and find a document, a page or a few couple of pages on India and end up like that. With that introduction, shall we proceed? This link that Sri will share with you will give you will give you access to an introductory video which will introduce you to the report. But a difficult question to all of you. I see many young faces. It's a bit cruel question. But I ask the question nevertheless. Sri?
Launched the poll, sir, right now. So you all will be seeing the question in your screen, whether laptop or mobile. You just have to choose what is appropriate for your thought process and then submit.
You mean click on the appropriate response?
Hope everyone is able to view the poll on screen.
Oh, all answered already. My God, this is like a trigger happy group.
Yes, sir. This is basically a very vibrant group, sir. Like most of them interact very mature with maturity to all our speakers, and all the speakers who have come before you have extremely liked this group, and they have shared feedback that they loved interacting with this batch of people.
Thank you. And as far as I can see on my screen, everybody smiles easily. Now, 4, 5. Oh, hey, Sri, how many participants are there?
So presently we have 30 logged in.
Okay. So not everybody has answered. Only 20 have. Sri, what is this? Varsha Power is requesting remote control of your screen.
Sir?
There's a dialog box which says Varsha Power is requesting remote control over the screen.
I'm so
I don't
sorry,
know.
Varsha, that might not be possible from my end. But of course, after the session, I can definitely give you.
Okay, I also have a feeling that in between, somebody had moved from no to not sure. But I'm glad that in this group, 60% of people are able to think about your own death. Now, that's unusual for an average audience. If I address a group of professionals, usually only about 1/3 of people say, yes, I can. But 3 people are clear that they cannot. To those 3 people, dear friends, I wish you immortality. To the people who are not sure, particularly, let me tell you that it is a great strength to be able to think about your own death. If you are able to contemplate it, you may think it's a morbid subject, but when you know that you are in a temporary accommodation here, you will leave someday. You will then be able to think in the time I have, what would be the most important things for me. And then you may find that Mercedes that you craved for may not be the most important thing, or the swimming pool that you wanted in the back of the home. You may then be able to think of more important things to do. But as you are all interested in palliative care specifically, if you are not able to think about your own mortality, it's a bit difficult to help someone else facing mortality. The person may be ready to ask you, ma'am, sir, what is it like to die? You may not, even if you know you are able to think about it, you may not be able to give a clear answer because you have not experienced it. But then, if you do, you may avoid the temptation to say meaningless things, invoking philosophy. We are all meant to die someday. That's the way life it is. Pray to God, etc., etc. Instead, you may even learn to hold a hand and just sit there, waiting for that person to say the next sentence. Uh, so, uh, uh, Sri, can you stop that thing on the screen, or can I?
Sir, you can use. Actually, I'm not sharing screen, so you.
Okay. Uh,
Is the poll showing in your screen, sir, by any chance?
it is, and there is a there is a there is a label coming on top which is blocking the top of the pole thing. I am trying to move it out so that I can stop it. Okay, so as I was saying, the best time to think about your own death is now tomorrow when you are ill. It is now if you are when you are reasonably healthy. Because once you accept that, you are able to value your own life. And sorry, I this window is blocking me, so I may stop share for a second. Yeah, now I am ready to come back to this. And spend our remaining time meaningfully, help others who are facing death, and eventually, when our time comes, die as well as possible. I certainly hope so. What would be the most important things at that point of time when you have only years, months, or even days left? This woman, whom we treated quite a long time back, was in an old age home run by a compassionate nun sister, Sister Elizabeth. This woman was alone. Her mother, she had one daughter, and her son-in-law was a drunkard and refused to have her in the home. So she was here. The daughter was very, very poor. Whatever she earns, half of it goes for the man's alcohol, and she had to feed 3 children. So she was alone. This was his late Mr. Vijaykumar, a volunteer with us. Whoever goes, she would hug and keep them as close to her as possible, indefinitely. Now, to her, what was most important was she was in dreadful pain. When she wouldn't even look for a hug, pain fills your mind. Even the greatest philosopher cannot get the pain out of your mind. It fills your mind space. But once her pain was treated on morphine, this was her next need: a hug, love. Well, caring for her more than the morphine and treating her other symptoms eventually meant raising a bit of money, sending it to the daughter, so that she could pay a neighbor to feed her children and look after her children, to pay for her travel to this place, and spend the last few days with a few drops of water going down her throat, poured by a loving hand. I would still remember. I even now remember. The daughter would always be by the head of the bed, always a hand on the mother's forehead. And today I think she could not have a good life except during the last 5 days of her life. Then she had a good life and a good death. But that's the way it is in our country. The poor die in misery of neglect like this woman. The majority of this group would belong to the middle class, I guess. If you have a computer and internet access, you are likely to be in the middle class. Most of our kind of people, middle class people, don't die well either. We don't know. We don't know what to do. So we go to the best hospital, borrow money and go to the best hospital. But the rich have almost a certainty about how they are going to do. They are likely to be in a corporate hospital, hooked to a ventilator, their death stretched out over weeks or months. This was written by a British oncologist of Bengali origin who does charity work in the northeast of India. We don't want this, do we? The 60% of people who thought they could think about their own death, I particularly make a note of this. Towards the end of it, I'll tell you what we need to do about this now. I'll give you some interesting statistics. In the first panel, you have what happens in European countries. This paper, published in 2019, showed that approximately 90%, 89.6% of people in intensive care units, when the treatment was considered futile, that is, they had no reasonable chance of coming back to a reasonable quality life. In that case, 89.6% of them were withdrawn from the life support systems, instead given palliative care. See both? Just withdrawing a life support system is not the thing to do. Because if you are dependent on the ventilator will make you miserable. But if you take it off, they'll say, feel breathless, and they'll say, give it back to me. At that time, their sense of air hunger needs to be treated. And that's what palliative care needs to do. That happened in 89.6%. Compared that with what happens in India, only roughly 30% have that privilege in India. This paper published in 2021 by the rather well-known intensivist Dr. Rajagopal shows that only in 30% of cases it was withdrawn. The other 70% died on the life support systems. So if you think what happens to the affluent in corporate hospitals is sophisticated and what Westerners do, ladies and gentlemen, you are mistaken. This is an obscene violation of all principles of medicine and all sense of dignity for the one's towards end of life. And remember, this started happening only in the last quarter of a century. Oh, I have been living for, as you can see, a century and a half. I've seen intensive care units doing what it should be, saving salvageable lives. But somehow, this disease, which I will call intensive careopathy, is rampant in India now. Now, these 70% live on life support systems, and you can imagine the family has no time to grieve. They are now have to deal with paying the bill so they can take the dead body, claim the dead body, with the additional cost of keeping it in the mortuary for a day. The other 30%, something very horrible happens. Typically, the first day, the son or daughter or in-laws come and say, money doesn't matter, doctor. Say my dad, say my mom. They mean it. But then they, in a day or two, they get to accept the reality. At that time, they also find that every day they are expected to pay a huge sum, which, depending on the nature of the hospital, may vary from about 30,000 rupees to 1 point something lakhs. And on the at the end of 4 or 5 days, they come to you and say, Dr. Abhika, there's no way we can continue this. We have sold everything. Who will give loans at 2 days' notice, except loan sharks who will destroy you? There's nothing to sell. There's no way to get more loan. We can't proceed. Please stop this. Let him die in peace. And we say no. That cannot be done. That's illegal. That we say that's unethical. Those are things that we say. We'll talk about where the law trusts in this. It's important that you know it so that you are able to save your uncle, your grandparent. So what happens to these people is eventually they say, whatever you say, doctor, we cannot pay. There is no way. And then the family is made to sign horrible documents, which we call LAMA or DAMA, leave against medical advice or discharge against medical advice. They have to write in their own handwriting that against medical advice, I am taking my father home. I will take responsibility for his death. Sometimes even more horrible words. And for the rest of their lives, they will live in guilt. And then with a man craving for air, without palliative care, they'll be put in an ambulance and sent home, usually dying on the way. Sorry to burden you. Many of you are very young, and you haven't there will be some among you who have never seen a death. People of my age grew up with death around us. Not many of you. Things have changed over 2 generations. So I can almost feel pain in some of you. Don't think about you now. Think about me. I'm 76 years old. This is not something difficult for me to think about. I can see that right there in front of me. Put yourself in my place and think what would be important for me. That ventilator, several pokes every day to do the blood tests, all the machines, the air conditioning, which will make me freeze. What would be important for me would be these things, right? Would anybody challenge this? A hand to hold, a kiss on the cheek, somebody saying, I love you, dad, or I love you, mom. Which intensive care unit would allow a grandchild to come in and give a kiss to the dying person? What would be important for me at that time? The first and foremost, as comfortable and in peace as possible. That's possible. I'll accept that. It may not always be a dream-like beauty state. Physically, I put that first. Because if you are in pain, as I said, or if you are breathless, you have no mind space for anything else. I have to be made physically comfortable. But emotionally, socially, spiritually, Sri Priya is one of the busiest people in Pallium, India. Sri, nevertheless, I hope you will come into my room and hold my hand for a few minutes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. We are all going to talk about how to enable this. If some of you would have had dying people in your own homes, you would have received advices, change position every 2 hours. Srimati Indira Chaudhary is vigorously nodding agreement. But towards the end, when it is clear that the last few days are there, if I have not been sleeping till 2 o'clock in the morning, not having a sleep, and finally I doze off, for heaven's sake, don't come at 3 a.m. to change my position because it has been 2 hours. Allow me to sleep. There has to be a balance between comfort and skin health. Oh, a pressure sore is not fun. I don't want it. But that balance, thinking of me, is what I'm asking for. At some point of time, I will not be able to drink anymore. If it is because of a treatable problem, say, if you open the mouth and see sometimes there would be white patches, that is fungal infection. Treat it. I need treatment for that because it causes, I'm thirsty and it will still be unable to, I'll be unable to drink. But usually in the last few days, my body doesn't need much water anymore. It's okay not to push fluids into me. For heaven's sake, don't put all this intravenous cannula in me. At that time particularly, they are only giving me pain. And please, 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 Sri, fight the doctors and nurses for me. If they are trying to poke a tube through my nose into my stomach to feed me, ensuring my nutrition, and a dietitian coming and prescribing high protein diet, my need for that stops. And that only causes suffering. Because then what will happen is keeps irritating me and semi-consciously I'll try to pull it out. What will you do to me? The worst possible thing is to restrain me physically, tie my hands and feet. Physical restraint increases the chance of agitation, panic, by as many as 44 times, as has been demonstrated by studies. But if it's a very warm environment in my place, and in summer particularly, if I am getting very dry, you can give subcutaneous fluids. Palliative care physician, people will know what to do. Other doctors and nurses will not know. And medicines, except for most antibiotics, which are possibly not necessary anymore, most medicines can be given rectally, including morphine. It can be pushed up the rectum if I am unable to solve. I want you to think about this. When a doctor comes and advises some blood checks, Parthasarathi Shom was a formal financial advisor to Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, and he wrote this in the Business Standard. So when this was said to us, told, the doctor continued to say, then why do you do it if it's not useful? We have the duty, we have the ethical duty to continue to do everything. If I could see the doctor, I would. I'm sorry I lost the connection, but on the other hand, I'm glad you got a small break. There's always a positive side, isn't it? So coming back to my, hey, host, you disabled participant screen sharing. Please make me a co-host again. Sri, I thought you were my friend.
One moment, sir. Actually, I had gone out of the meeting for a while. Internet was cut. So sorry for
Fair
that.
enough.
Can you try just now, sir?
Very good. So, like Parthasarathi show questions, sometimes you have to ask, do we still need to give those, do all those blood tests? When you know, and I know that I am going, and why the cholesterol medication anymore? And the multivitamin tablets, which I find difficult to swallow. Why all those processes and procedures? Why do you want to do another MRI to assess whether the tumor has gone to my brain? What does it matter? Give me the only thing that is important for me, a bit of human love. If I have a bad respiratory infection, I may need still antibiotics, but ask, what's the purpose? If it's going to make me feel better, give me those antibiotics. If my wish is to stay at home, but I may need your help, and the doctor and nurse cannot come whenever I want, so I may choose to be in a hospital room. I was an intensive care doctor at one point of time. I know that its value. I know that it can save lives. But when I am dying, thanks. No. Don't do procedures on me unless it is necessary for my comfort. There can be exceptional situations where even during the last month, a surgical procedure may be necessary so that I can breathe. Similarly, there are some kinds of pains in cancer which can be relieved only by radiation, a single fraction, but only if necessary for my well-being, and certainly no feeding tubes. Unless there are some conditions like a cancer in the throat, where you feel hungry, then I may say, what you put whatever you want, but let me have let me get rid of my hunger. But but that's very difficult for doctors to do, but also for you to do. Sometimes you may have to step in and say, thanks, doctor. No, no more of those pokes, no more of those tubes. And very often that becomes a very difficult call. Sri Priya will tell you about our telehealth line. If you do come across that situation, a friend or a family, please call us. Let us help you. Now, this is what every one of you can do. Avarna, Narmada, all of you. I am just calling out names that I see immediately on my screen. Shalaka, Avarna, Sudesh. Sudesh, you are a human being. If you are not a doctor or nurse, you are not burdened by some technical knowledge which may prevent you from seeing the human being, because you are seeing only the organs and the tumors and the chemistry. But as human beings, you can see human beings. If it is not exactly the last week or something, and I'm still feeling lonely there, lying there like this, waiting for my children to come back from office, if you have time, sit beside me. Rather than talking, listen to me. One of the things that I find very useful, and I am saying this to you so that you may be even able to practice it in your own family. You have a grandparent at home, go to that person. Saurya, you may have a grandparent or an uncle or aunt who is not necessarily ill, just aging. They would have love for you, you would have love for them. Just go and sit beside them for a while and ask, Uncle, I know nothing about your childhood. Tell me about where you grew up. Tell me some stories from your childhood. When you have finished an hour of that conversation, you will find that that uncle and you are connected very close. You will get a lot from him, and he will get a lot of love from you. Because now you are interacting not only as uncle and niece or nephew, but as human beings. And during uh, my conversation, I may say, Sudesh, I wish I hadn't quarreled with my brother at that time. Just over something petty. And then you may just sit there or say, tell me, I feel very sorry that you have to live with this guilt. Is there anything I can do? Uncle, can I call him and say that this is troubling you and that you would like to talk to him? You may be able to bridge that gap, but certainly don't have to give solutions. I feel guilty that my son did not get the education that he needed because I couldn't afford it. You don't have to say, I don't feel guilty. I see that you still carry that burden in you. And you may be able to talk to my son and tell him, if there is no confidentiality breach, that your dad is still feeling guilty that he could not give you the education that you could have had. And if my son then understands this I may not be able to tell my son. He's busy. Then the son may come and say, Dad, I love you. Enough. That's enough to take away most suffering. And as you hear the uncle's story, you may hear, Uncle, I have enormous admiration for you. Because in spite of all that, you did this. This may be difficult. Overcoming adversities and building a life. This may be just being very ethically right, whatever. Don't look for the negatives there. Acknowledge achievements. Sometimes your uncle may stop talking. Don't think that this is an awkward silence. Just sit there. Silences can be precious. And it's important for you to be there with the person, unless the person indicates that I want to be alone. And finally, keep me connected to my world. I'll tell you what I mean. Narmada and Aparna, I'm just looking at two young faces in front of me. At some point of time, you may find Let's hope it is not in the next 2 decades, some point of time. You may find that you have a parent living in his or her own home, and that he or she is lonely. And you may, more than anything else, want to care for them. And you cannot leave your career and job and children and family. You will start nagging your mom or dad. Mom, oh, you can't be here all alone. Please come and live with me. Mom says, I don't want to, Betty. I'm sorry. I want to stay here. No, no, mom, and then you cry. There are several sessions like this. Eventually, just to satisfy, she agrees to come with you. I did this to my father. In my book, I have written about it. Among my many palliative care experiences, I've written about how all of us children emotionally blackmailed him to coming with me. He traveled and got to my home in Calicut. And in the first half an hour, he saw his dead brother. He was saying, why don't you ask Chetan to come in? And he was very confused, miserable, said, take me back home tomorrow. And he died in the next 1 hour. He was lucky, I was lucky because his suffering was not too much. But imagine somebody getting crazy. So Narmada and Avarna, if you take a parent from his or her village to your 42nd floor apartment in a city, they have two-thirds chances of getting delirium, sometimes going to agitation, panic. I'm not saying that this is absolutely not to be done. Many people can adjust, but some people may not. So this is what I mean by keeping somebody connected. So please answer this question for me. What connects you personally, young or old? What connects you to this world?
It's the same as before. Just click on the option you feel appropriate from your point of view.
You may have never thought about this. Sri, what is the answer in the chat box?
Sir, Momita had said it is occupation. That option is already available in our poll.
Sorry,
Lakshmi
sorry.
says, Sir, Lakshmi says having a purpose and contributing towards it.
Hmm. Purpose
And
in life.
Swati has
Hmm.
two connections, family and
Hmm.
occupation as well.
Hmm. Okay. See, uh, to the 4 people who are connected more to your faith or religion or God than anything else. There are many people like that. And for them, it's important. That's very important, vitally important. They may want Holy Communion, and therefore a priest may have to come to the hospital at any hour of the night. They may instead want the Bhagavad Gita or Quran read to them. And that's so very important. But to those 4 people, let me also tell you, that may not be important to everyone. Please don't be judgmental about those people who are not so well connected with God as you. we have to respect their importance also, and that will be vitally important. So, most people here are connected more than anything else to your family. And that family structure, friends, please remember, is precisely what is being lost in today's world, where joint families are becoming less and less, and nuclear families are spread apart in various parts of the world. Oh my God, I live in Kerala where so many young men are in the Gulf countries, and so many people from other states come here for manual labor. Families fractured, living in a fractured world. They are already suffering, and for them, it's so important to be reconnected. I was actually helping a family, a nurse in London in UK, very ill to get back to Kerala, to a place without adequate palliative care facilities. I also had concern about it, but we promised to help her virtually. And in the last few days of her life, she took on the journey, got home. She lived only for 2 more days, and that was important for her. So please understand your parents if they say, I don't want to move. So we do not judge others by your roles in life. You are you. I have to respect what is important for you. I know at least one of you said your occupation is important for you. I cared for a former friend and a senior doctor who's a surgeon who said, if I cannot operate, I don't want to live. This is my life. He died a miserable death, but I couldn't go and preach to him. I just stayed with him in his misery, able to listen to what he was saying. So, without judging others, we have to care for them. My problem again, Priya, I am again stopping share for a second to stop there. Okay. Rebuilding connections means certainly helping people to finish unfinished business. Making a will. Sri Priya, it was before our time. But a patient who spent her last few weeks with us more than anything else wanted to create a will, leaving uh, her meager possessions to the home nurse who had been caring for her for the last 3 years. Her family fought. We did not really get into the fray, but we arranged a lawyer to help us, gratis. It may be any unfinished business like that phone call to the brother whom I have quarreled a few years back. It may be one of my patients wanted to see the grandchild who would be born only 6 months later. There was no time. She was sad that she would never see her grandchild, but eventually we suggested that she could write a letter. It was before these days where videos were so popular. She wrote a few letters for her child to open when she was 5 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old, etc. That was how she left a legacy of love. My religious practices are my business. You are not going to judge me. What is important for me? Please help me. And if there have been quarrels in the family, please help to rebuild the connections. As far as possible, allow the family to be there and don't forget children. That's important for me. Very, very vitally important for me to get one more kiss on the cheek from my grandchildren. And if There's practically nobody. Like that woman whose family had abandoned her and only a home nurse was there. You become the family. Be there. You may not have a lot of time, but you may find 1 hour, maybe twice a week. Go there just to hold the hand and convey, I care for you, I love you. Please remember, you may be able to do for that person as a human being than what I am able to do as a doctor. And if you are a professional, please remember, I see that there are some doctors in the group. Please remember, you are not only a doctor, you have a generic name. You are a human being. You shouldn't be all doctor or nurse. We should also be ready to be human beings. And particularly remember children. Sometimes in this cruel life, children become the only caregivers. And we just leave instructions to the child and walk away. Oh my God, what all would this 10-year-old be going through in her mind? Listen to her. Don't be afraid to give her a hug. There is no ethical principle or law that you cannot hug a child who is a caregiver. When it's necessary, that's the greatest thing to do, to convey to the child, Mole, I care for you. Sripriya probably knows Sindhu. Sindhu is a friend of Pallium, whom I connected with her after I wrote her article in the Hindu. Please read this story.
So you want me to read?
Oh, please do. Read.
My 84-year-old father, my best friend, was enduring raw, intrusive medical procedures against his own wish. All skin and bones, he looked defenseless and at the mercy of doctors, his arms tied up, vulnerable and agonized.
Thank you. Sorry. That link is given. You can read the whole article in the Hindu. Sri, have I exhausted my time?
No, sir, we have till 4:30.
There is no case presentation?
No case, sir.
Okay, we'll have some time for discussion. Friends, this is what I said in the beginning. 70% of our people die like this. If they are in a corporate hospital. And a new generation of doctors have arisen who believe it is their duty to sustain life, life being equated to a heartbeat. This is from the National Cancer Grid. You can again read this free access, open access article in the Lancet. I have given the link here also. There are 10 recommendations that given. One is that palliative care should be available from the beginning in the treatment, whenever suffering starts. 2, this one. Hey, why doesn't somebody else read it for a change? Avarna? One of the Avarnas. Do you want to read this? Unmute and read this. Avarna N. Avarna N is struggling with this. So can I ask Avarna P?
Do's and don'ts. Choosing wisely
No,
India.
just 3 sentences in the bottom.
Do not treat patients with advanced metastatic cancer in ICU unless there is an acutely reversible event.
National Cancer Grid came out with this. National Cancer Grid is a collaborative of all more than 300 cancer hospitals in the country. Their consensus statement. Do not is what they say. But you know what happens in the cancer hospitals. So there is this huge gap between policy and practice. And when it comes to your own family members, you have to fight for them. Fight is the word I use. I don't like violence. But here, nothing, you will have to enter into this non-violent struggle. And if you allow the person to die, please remember this is not talking about euthanasia. This is again from the bioethics unit of ICMR. Unfortunately, a Supreme Court order mistakenly called it passive euthanasia. Euthanasia cannot be passive. Euthanasia is killing. Withdrawal of artificial life support is not killing. If I switch off the ventilator, it's only allowing natural death in somebody who's dying. So, ethically, by all principles of medical ethics, withdrawal of artificial life support in the context of futility is not euthanasia. This is our duty to our loved ones when they are dying, to allow them to go in peace. To the 60% of people who are able to think about your own death, here is something that you have to do. The others can follow later when they muster enough courage to think about it. You can protect yourself by signing an advanced medical directive for living will. The torture in the intensive care unit is to be avoided by preparing this document. I have written this document. I have got it signed by a gazetted officer. And technically, legally, by the Supreme Court judgment of last year, the doctors have the ethical and legal duty to respect my wishes. They don't know it. Most doctors are not aware of it. The Supreme Court also put in some practical procedures which are difficult. There's no law in our country for this. This is the new Supreme Court order of 2023 is valid, which may say my advanced medical directive for living will is valid, and withholding and withdrawing life support can be done in the event of futility. Withholding is easy. It's easy if you say, I don't want your ICU, I'll stay in my room. It's easy for you to say, I will not allow my father's imprisonment in the ICU. We will care for him in the room. But once it is started, the court has put in a procedure. The first process can be done on the same day. The hospital authority appoints a 3-member committee of doctors, including a treating doctor. Maybe this doctor and that cardiologist and this emergency medicine physician, any 3. And they together agree and document that treatment is unlikely to result in revival to reasonable quality of life. But then I have to inform the district medical officer and have one more external board certifying the same thing. That causes delay. So legally, this is the procedure. In practice, no. So the practical thing is, when Sri Priya shares this presentation with you, please note the link at the bottom. In our website, we have given a format for the living will. You can customize it. And fill it and print it. Get it countersigned by a gazetted officer. Not difficult, right? Or you can go for a notary, but gazetted officer is enough, and put in a seal. In India, everything has to be validated by a seal. And keep this with you, and your family should know it. But this is not from the Supreme Court instruction. I know this from practical experience. The most difficult part is that the whole family should be in agreement. So after creating the document, the most valid thing, more than getting the counter signature from the gazetted officer, the important thing that I did was to talk to my wife Chandriya, who is behind me and listening to all this, get her to agree, which was not difficult. Then I talked to my two children. One of them immediately said, okay. The other one, why are you talking like this? You are quite healthy. You will live for a long time. We will talk about it later. But I did not leave. I nagged him till he was ready to talk. And eventually, I had to get him to listen to a lecture on end-of-life care by somebody else. And then he said, Acha, I now understand. It's okay. So please remember, whatever you have written, whether the gazetted officer or the chief secretary countersigns it, if the family does not agree, no sensible doctor will allow your directive. Because the doctor, if sensible, knows that dead people do not go to court, right? You don't come back from heaven or hell and go to court. Living families go to court. So doctors will do only what the family wants. So the most important part is this. So I started by mentioning a Lancet Commission report on the value of death. For all of you and me, this is important. Please remember, the young people in the group particularly, remember that your generation may not be familiar with death the way our generation was. Our generation who lived in joint families, saw cattle dying on the cattle shed, saw the elders dying in our own homes. We were familiar. You are strangers. It's an unknown enemy, feared, offered, and fought. So the Lancet Commission asked for death literacy. New learning has to be there. That death is inevitable consequence of life. And you have to learn about death, dying, and end-of-life care. And they say it should be in the curriculum of every professional and student, but more importantly, also, this is not only for professionals. Patients and families should have clear information. Hey, why am I reading? I am tired. One of you please read. Volunteers.
Patients and families should be provided with clear information about the uncertainties as well as the potential benefits, risks, and harms of intervention in potentially life-limiting illness to enable more informed decisions.
Mary Madam, thank you.
Thank
you. Okay. Be informed. Professionals have to give the information. It's your right to be informed. This is not from any other document, but my own view. I think the biggest problem towards in providing rational end-of-life care is the doctor's perception of duty of care. The doctors genuinely think it's not only hospitals wanting money. Main problem, I think, is a new generation of doctors and sometimes older generation also genuinely thinks that they have a duty to stretch out the dying process and prolong the heartbeat as much as possible. Of course, families' attitude. Your own love for your parents can be of two kinds. You may love your mom so much. Mom, I can't live without you. Fight, fight. I won't let you go. And then the mom is in this position in the ICU. The more selfless love is, I love my mom. She must be suffering so much. If it is time for her to go, let her go. It is cruel to be having that selfish love. The person may suffer a lot. We see that a lot. Of course, societal factors are many. Religious beliefs may create a problem. But also, all of a sudden, when somebody is very ill, every family member and friend becomes an expert. And they will come and say, hey, Shalaka, what are you doing? Why are you keeping him here? Hey, I know this doctor in this hospital. He's wonderful. Let's go there. And why are you not taking him to Mumbai? The best cancer treatment is in Mumbai. Haven't you heard about that Siddhan in Rishikesh? He can cure anything. All these advices will come in. Oh my God, so challenging. So I personally teach family members to learn to smile, not argue. Listen to that person. Ignore the person. Think of what is right. Do it in the person's interest. And finally, the legal position is clearer since 2023 than it was. We do not have a law covering end of life, unfortunately, but the Supreme Court order validates advance directives, permits withholding and withdrawal of life support with some condition. So, friends, for you and for me, and for our loved ones, rational end of life care is a right, and we have the duty to provide it to our loved ones. And if at all possible, extend a helping hand to friends and families, including alleviating loneliness, including listening, including giving love, including building connections. The Lancet Commission also asked for a sustained concerted effect with community. I appeal to this group. You must be having a WhatsApp group, right? What can you do? Who writes? Write in the papers. Who knows who has a connection in the television channel? Get a talk about this. Help people to think about the 10 dying so that the current cruel end of life care stops. So friends, I'll stop with that. I am glad that we have more than 20 minutes for discussion. I would like, I'll leave the presentation on my desktop so that we can come back to it if necessary. But in the meantime, please ask your question. So, sorry, Sri, back to you to moderate.
Actually, we don't have a facilitator for the center batch, so
You are the facilitator, Sri.
no, so that would be very huge task for me because all the people here are so much knowledgeable and much seniors, much experienced than me. But yes, of course, I can take up the questions and read out to you so that. Um,
Sri, you have heard me speaking on the same subject 73 times. Okay.
But still, I am learning, sir. Still, I am learning.
Yes, very good. Thank you.
Actually, sir,
Okay.
Nita had asked a question when you were saying about the second poll was launched. What connects you most to the world? We had launched one
Me?
poll. Yes, sir, we had launched one first. So at that time, Nita was asking, sir, can you explain the question with regards to which context? Nita, if you can unmute yourself now and give more clarification, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, Nita, please ask the question. Network lag. So, Nita, can you expand on your question? Are you asking, when I ask about what connects you to the world, you ask what context? The choices that I gave, did it give you a clue, or is the question answered, or you still need clarification? If you cannot unmute and speak, please ask in the chat box. While Anita types,
We have one more question. Yes, Nita confirms that the question was answered. And then Aparna was.
Avarnaji,
Hmm.
Avarnaji, you have a question. Do we have data of how many hospitals have followed through advanced directives of having board, DMO, board, etc.? I don't have data, but very few have. Do we have data of how many people know about this? Very few. Very few hospitals even know the relevance of the Supreme Court rule. Why? Because you discuss the latest technology. We doctors do not talk about death and dying. we try to avoid death and die. So unfortunately, Aparna ji, unfortunately, very few hospitals have done it. I know that some hospitals have done it. Mandatorily, the National Accreditation Board for Hospitals has mandated that every hospital should have an accreditation policy, an end-of-life care policy. But it doesn't say what the end-of-life care policy should be. So, very few, unfortunately, most hospitals will cause suffering at the end of life. Unless you empower yourself, Pallium India is happy to work with you individually and collectively.
Can I ask my questions?
Yes, Indiraji, please. Indiraji, where do you hail from?
I'm from West Bengal, but I live in Bangalore.
What do you do?
I'm an oral historian, sir. I
Oh, what
collect
historian?
oral historian. I collect stories of people, and I feel it is something that can be very effectively used. Even reading your book, I realize, to talk to people who have reached a certain point in their lives. So that's what I do, and I'm hoping this course will help me to carry it forward with Pallium. But I have a question which is more of a personal nature, and that is, while writing the living will, there are two things here that I wonder about. One is, I want to put in it that I'd prefer to die at home, unless something, I would like to die at home. But I find that if I want to donate my organs, then I have to die in hospital. I can donate my eyes, I know. But if I want to donate my skin, my organs, whatever. So how do I sort this out? Do I put, in case I die at home, this should be done? I die in hospital, I would like my body to be donated. Nobody is able to really give me an answer.
Indiraji, first, namaskaram. I bow to the divine in you, wanting to do this to help somebody else. Thank you. Thank you for your essential humanity. Secondly, except for the eyes, unfortunately, you have to be in a hospital. That's because once your brain is dead, brain death, once that has happened, what we say about brain death is death of the most parts of the brain above this level. Only the lowest part, the crude part, which only continues the heartbeat, may still be alive. Once that happens, you will have to be on an artificial life support system, but you won't be suffering. You won't be suffering because you have lost consciousness completely. And that heartbeat will have to be maintained and blood flow will have to be maintained till your organs are harvested. And once the organs are harvested, the heart is, you stop the artificial intervention, allow the heart to stop. So the two wishes are now a bit contradictory.
Yes.
And that you'll have to resolve that within yourself.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, doctor. Regarding
Madam,
pain
madam.
management. Yeah, regarding pain management.
Madam, I have a selfish request. Please tell me a couple of sentences about yourself. Are you
I am
professional or no?
No, I am a layman. I was working in the insurance sector and I've catered to a lot of health insurance, and so I know some things about these. And of course, palliative care was always there in my mind, and I'm a volunteer in our church here in Kerala. After retirement, I moved over to Kerala. And I have catered to two old people, one my mother, another my cousin. So, and from that experience, I found that the palliative care is there, but not to the extent, which would support the people, dying people. So, as ordinary people, we don't know much about it, and even the medical fraternity is not able to help other than say, okay, palliative care. The practical aspect I didn't find much helpful in these two cases, and in few cases that I found around me, mainly related to pain management. What I understand is morphine can be given but how and who? Because even the doctors had not recommended in 2-3 cases that I had personally seen. So I would like.
Sorry, which city do you live in? Where do you live?
Now, at present, I am in Kerala, in Pathanamthitta district. Earlier, I was in Bangalore. In both the places, I found this, the pain management was not, as told, what I read is morphine can be used when there is aggressive pain. I didn't find such a recommendation or a administration at all.
Madam, this is for the unfortunate reality. You said even the professionals are not aware of it. In Kerala, actually, the non-professionals know more about it than the professionals.
I asked the doctor to handle, my mother was in extreme pain. So I asked the doctor, even painkillers, very rare, like a ration they were giving. They were not allowing me to give more painkillers. And nothing about morphine. I came to know of it only when I entered into the palliative care thing.
So, till 2019, this use of morphine or pain management was not even in the medical curriculum. You will find it hard to believe. It was just not there. And we were all taught wrong things. So it's very new. So, and secondly, I said generally the public knows more about it because doctors are like full cup, brain filled with knowledge. It's very difficult to take put in anything more. Whereas the person on the street doesn't find it difficult to learn new things. At least in Kerala, that's the way it is. So in Kerala, there are at least 170 plus palliative care centers. But unfortunately, most corporate hospitals do not have any palliative. Some government medical college hospitals and the government hospitals have it. Very few private hospitals and corporate hospitals have it. That's a sad part even in Kerala. In Bangalore, there are a few excellent palliative care centers, but it's up to you to find them. That's unfair. Your treating doctor should be referring at the appropriate time, and that doesn't happen. And there, we will keep trying our best, of course, but we are looking forward to Srimati Indira Chaudhary to keep telling those stories. Get the message across to people. We'll also try our best. But Sri Priya, remind me to send my article in the Hindu 2 weeks back. No, it is 3 weeks back to this group. We will send that article, something that I wrote. But an occasional article being written, the press is not enough. But repeated messages need to go out. And people with lived experiences are the best advocates. Like that article by Sindhu or Partha showed. I didn't know either of them. We connect only because of the article. So, yes, this is unfortunate reality that people are not aware. Morphine is feared because, Mary Madam, 2 generations of doctors, including even my generation, grew up without seeing a tablet of morphine. I saw a tablet of morphine for the first time when I was in my 40s. So this is new territory. Unfortunately, medicine focuses only on cure, love set pain philosophically, so long as the pain is borne by somebody else.
Right. And as a
But
layman, I
our
think
website, madam, our website has a directory. If you go into Pallium India website on the right, you will find a link saying directory. That list whatever palliative care centers we know all over the country, state by state, and in Kerala, district by district. As it happens, the bulk of them are in Kerala. Otherwise, it's limited to some major cosmopolitan cities.
thank you.
Thank you, Sri, for giving the
Thank
link.
Doctor,
Unfortunately, that link will be behind a paywall. The whole article will not be visible. So I'll have to share it to you later. Unless you have
Doctor,
a copy.
I
Yes, Priya?
had another
Yes, sir.
question about
Yes, ma'am.
palliative care and, cancer treatment. I've lost several friends to cancer. And one of them, at one point when I had learnt a bit and I was arguing with her that, maybe we should talk to a palliative care person. She said, oh, that means it's the end. I don't want to be. And, this was, I didn't want a running battle with her, but it became that's how she was perceiving it. She went to one of the big hospitals in Calcutta and she was not offered it, even though that hospital does have a palliative care unit. And so I was, it's also the perception of the patient, and that is what we should try to change.
So when you write those stories and advocate for this, all of us, we have to keep harping on this point. Palliative care is not only for the dying. Palliative care, according to the definition of World Health Organization and recommendation, should start when the suffering starts. And it should go with the treatment. It's not only for incurable illnesses. It is necessary for curable illness. So this is the message that I hope you will all convey. We have been very ineffective with our advocacy, but this is hard, but this needs to be hammered into people again and again. This is not about dying people. Palliative care is not giving up. Palliative care is enabling the person to live well. And actually, there is a study from USA which shows that giving palliative care along with cancer treatment prolongs life by an average 3 months, because you are mentally better, physically better, you eat better, your immunity is better. Lot of work to do.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. We have a few more minutes. Many people have not spoken at all. I can
Sir, good evening.
almost, yes, Mr. Saju Thomas. Good evening.
So how do we initiate a conversation with the patient on end of life or advanced care plan? You asked the question,
yes.
Are you able to think about your own death? Firstly, I can, but then the patient who is on the bed, is it a good practice to initiate a talk on death with him?
Mr. Saju, one thing, first point, please initiate the conversation with non-patients. Any group. If you are a member of the Rotary Club, go and talk to them. If you have a group of friends who sit together in a park and talk about it, talk in the evening, talk to them. The best time to talk about it is when you are not ready, to be prepared. That's part of the death literacy that they talk about. But I'll tell you what I do. Usually, the patient will, if you just sit and listen to the person and allow the person to talk, they will give you the cue. Don't lose the cue. And like they say, oh, Saju, after all, I have limited time left. And don't lose the opportunity. Why did you say that? How much time do you think you have? That's the way. Don't miss it. Very many people say, oh, we are all mortal. We will all die someday. That's wrong strategy. That person is seeing death before him or her. So pick up on cues. See, The person may say, when my time comes, most people will not use the word death. They won't talk about it. When the time comes, and etc., etc. Then you say, what did you mean by when the time comes? Have you been thinking about your own end of life? And when they make a suggestion, you can pick up on that, and that's the best and easiest way. Okay, that's the best strategy. If you sit and talk to them enough, they will give you the cue. If that doesn't happen within the time available to you, you may start by saying, you look very thoughtful. Your eyebrows are furrowed. You must be thinking hard about something. Tell me your worries and concerns. Would you like to talk about it? And they just sit there. Sit there, you too. Don't open your mouth. Silence means they are organizing thoughts. It may take 2 minutes before they say, I know the best part of my life is over. And then they will start talking. So if you are initiating it, you are not going to say about it, have you thought about your own death? You are saying that what are the concerns? How do you see the future? A little more directly. Okay, you said this and this. Now, what do you see the future evolving to? How do you see your own life shaping it? So that will bring out the question. And if they don't want to talk about it, that's fine. Leave it there. You cannot always force the issue, because if you force your way in, they may get broken. You remember that in our own group, several people did not want to talk about their own death. Give them time. To all those people, if someday you want to bring questions about them, feel free to write to us. By the way, I have put in my email ID in the chat box. Feel free to write to me. I promise a response. But the first thing, look for their cues. If they don't give cues, ask for their concerns. That will lead you to this. Lakshmi says, active listening and practicing silence is tough for me. I love to ask some prompting questions. No, that's fine. Lakshmi, but it's good to work on listening. Talking is natural. You have 2 ears and only one tongue. Listen, we have to learn to listen more. It is something that's to be practiced. So, but then some prompting questions are fine, not necessarily bad. That's what I said. You look very anxious. Tell me, what is it? And psychosocial support in end of life care. Psycho and social. I'll separate all these. Depression. For those, I'll come to you. We'll make sure that I come to you. Thank you for raising your hand. Anxiety. The person doesn't ask questions, but you can see from the face. And you will say, hey, Gopal, would you like to talk to me alone? Is there something that's bothering you? And do you want me to come again if today is not the best day? I think you have something brewing in your mind. Anxiety, depression. You look very sad. Tell me, what is that makes you sad most? Guilt is something that they will bring up by themselves. Anxiety, depression, anger. Anger is a very, very destroying emotion. It's important to bring it out and to deal with it. So, psychological support involves all that, but more than that, Sudesh, one of the worst diseases of modern society is loneliness. Sri, please give me 5 minutes more.
Sure, sir.
Loneliness. Psychology, that's also social. We are social animals. We need company. Alleviating loneliness is part of it. In social support, it's mostly about our relationship with others, finding out who are the people who matter more in that person's life. And sometimes you may say, hey, listen, he was asking for you. Do you think you could visit more often? Or something like that. And the social support may be very critical things. The one thing that I wanted was for my children to be educated. No, my wife will not be able to support their education. What will we do? So you may be able to find an organization. Our organization supports education of children of our families. There are many like that. Sometimes it's enabling those connections. Sandri. And also, they don't have a roof over the head. Our people go with a tarpaulin sheet and pull it over the roof on monsoon times. It doesn't last long, but solves the problem immediately. So not only relationships, their immediate needs, which are not medically managed, but socially managed by connecting them with social organizations, etc. I'm just giving some example. For those, Supriya gets violently angry if we overrun time. So may have to make this the last question.
Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for such an Thank you for such an amazing session. So I work as a psychologist in a geriatric dementia care center. So topics like palliative care consent, end of life. I mean, I find these topics to be very challenging when you're actually conversing with families with geriatrics who are suffering from dementia. So I just wanted to understand from your perspective as to how do you deal with such cases and how can we actually make these talks, because here the central figure is not the individual who is suffering. The consent is taken by the family in most of the cases, especially who comes from moderate to severe case of dementia, because they are not in the right state of mind to make up these choices for their own. So how do we approach? Because we see that families, it's very difficult for them to take up these decisions by themselves.
It was very difficult. And somebody was talking about
So
cancer.
we can't hear. Yeah.
What's wrong?
Yeah.
Somebody was talking about cancer earlier. Please remember that only a total of 30% of palliative care needs are from cancer. And if tomorrow God comes before me and says, hey, Rajagopal, your time is up. Here, choose between cancer and dementia. I'll grab cancer. Dementia is one of the worst things that I have seen people go through. And please don't think that just because they don't remember, they don't suffer. You can see suffering and terror and panic on their face. So, yes, for those, this is vitally important. If you are handling people with like that, you have to initiate these conversations early. It doesn't help when the urgent need has happened. When one doctor is recommending nasogastric tube, another is recommending ICU, very difficult to handle this. We have to initiate these conversations early. Like, have you thought about this issue earlier? That making plans for his treatment. Now I see, okay, for those you find that the man or the woman is progressively eating less and less or drinking less and less. And at that time, before the doctor comes and puts in a nasogastric tube, you start bringing the subject up. And one thing that for those that I have, when they are, and I am able to, you won't always succeed. If there's a doctor in the family, you have failed already, almost invariably, very difficult. Because doctors and nurses are tuned the sustaining life to which to them means only a heartbeat. But even whether it's a doctor or not, I'm sorry I mentioned that as a negative thing, but it happens, whether it's a medical family or not. You work with them early enough, bring up the subject. I see that it's becoming more and more difficult to feed him. So have you thought about the future? You start raising that subject. You must be very anxious, acknowledge their suffering. And I have seen how lovingly you care for him. You must be very worried. Tell me, what are your concerns? Start with that. They will give you the cue. And when I have built a connection, one thing that I tell to the family is, one thing that you are going to face is that a lot of relatives are going to come with their own advices. Let us have an understanding that whatever people say, you will do what you think is best for your dad and not to please something to please an uncle. This itself is an important decision. Once they are able to reconcile with that in their own minds, I will do what is best for my mom, not something to please somebody else, a cousin or an uncle. And those people, uncles and cousins, can sometimes be very cruel. Hey, isn't he your own dad? You are leaving him like this here? You are allowing him to starve? Are you worried about money? What are you saving money for? These cruel questions will come. They will have to learn to smile and bear it. So for those, the best time to talk about it is early before you are actually on the verge of death. But even in that time, if there are 3 children, one is violently arguing, no, we are going to save my dad, come what may. There may be another person who is silent, sitting there. Maybe you will talk to that person. I saw that you were not talking. You were thinking. Can we talk more about it? For those, this is a very difficult situation, I agree. But we can only try. And remember, we cannot always win. That's okay too. For those acknowledges that I have tried, that's the best I can do as a human being. I may fail, and we accept failure at times with regret, with sadness. No, of course, I didn't mean it when I said Sri Priya gets violently angry. Never ever seen her getting angry. Whatever happens in the world, she managed to retain her smile. And this is an excellent sentence to end by Lakshmi's chat message. Active listening like a muscle we need to build every day. Dear friends, thank you for the active participation and for your even when you didn't speak, with your eyes and faces you were participating. Thank you. Wish you all the best. Angel, thank you. I saw you mouthing that word.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. I could see you like rushing from Pallium to join this session during the afternoon. I hope you had your lunch before joining the session. Sir, actually, this is our last session of this batch. So I'll be like having some of their feedbacks, verbal feedbacks. So you can stay back and listen to them if you would like. Otherwise, I will not force you. It's up to you, sir.
Oh, thank you, Priya. That's one of the best ways I have heard of people saying, get out.
No, sir, I never meant
Very
that.
nice. No, of course, I also didn't mean it. Priya, thank you, Priya. Thank you, Sri Priya. Thank you for
Thank you, sir.
facilitating it. And friends, let me leave. I wish you all the best. I hope you will continue to be advocates. Thank you.
So the participants may stay back, and we would definitely love to hear from you how the entire program went and what you felt was very good and where you felt there could be improvements. The floor is open now for all who would like to volunteer first. No one. Okay, all sessions were useful and informative.
No, let me quickly add something. You really put together a course that was very informative, and it was also very human, because, you know, these were all stories that, you know, everyone spoke from their experience as doctors, and you got a very eminent group of people to talk to us. So thank you, Pallium, for putting that together. I think, you know, the only regret I have, and that is nothing, I mean, that has to do with you, or, you know, I wish we had a little more time. I don't know how to put it, but a time where we could, as participants, also discuss what this course is doing for us. I mean, you know, if we could have that opportunity, it would be good. And sometimes I feel like, you know, the sessions were they made you think so deeply, and they're difficult topics. So I feel that, you know, maybe some of us, at least I keep thinking about it, and then later something comes up, and then we move to the next session. So I don't know how you can do this in the online mode. You know, sometimes face to face, these things can happen, that you think a bit and you bring up those questions. So it's just, you know, every feedback I've said, I wish we had more time. So it's that, it's nothing else. I thought it was very well organized. And what I would have liked is if in advance we were told about the speakers.
Okay.
Like, you know, if we had the whole course before us, so you know mentally also that you prepare for this. But thank you, Shruti. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for those valuable feedbacks, ma'am. Is regarding the timing, we are running the entire all programs through the Echo platform. So they have put it like a cap of 90 minutes. Anyways, we are overshooting that most of the sessions. But yes, we still have an option like after this today, if some of you want to, you know, chit chat of getting to know person by person might be difficult during these times, but if you want to arrange a virtual meeting, we can definitely host that after this also. Say 5 of you want to meet virtually and discuss on something as a focus group discussion, we can definitely think about that, and we are open for that as well. Regarding speakers, ma'am, I understand that we are not sharing the names of the speakers prior. Well, it is because that at times some of the sessions get postponed. Sometimes we plan for a speaker, but then their schedule clashes with ours, so we have to arrange an alternate speaker. So these kind of things happen. That is why we prefer most of the all the programs we share the name of the speaker only on the day of the talk. So, of course, I have noted down your point. We'll be putting it up in our academic group. So, we will see what can be done regarding that as well. And Shalaka, I can see your hand raised.
Yeah,
Thank you.
hi. First of all, Shreya, this was excellent. The course is very well curated, amazing speakers, and obviously amazing participants as well. I think this is the best 1,000 rupees I've spent in my life. Uh, this was like, I mean, sure, there's a lot of work I need to do personally now, in terms of reading and observing and connecting. And I will do that, but this was amazing as a foundational course. And I think you guys need to um, charge more. Y'all are worth far more. Your course is worth far more. That said, I agree with Indira ji on this and on what she said, and I hope we could all, as participants, have one session at least where we introduce ourselves I know I have spoken a lot of times, and people already know me, but there are so many others who are here who I don't know. I don't know their backgrounds. I would love to know, what they are into and what kind of work they do, because a lot of work in palliative care and in healthcare, outside of the clinical aspect, happens through collaboration and cooperation. And so it's very important that uh, that we collaborate and cooperate and first connect on platforms like these. So if you could arrange for this, or you allow us to arrange for it, I'll be very happy, to participate in something like that. And kudos to all your speakers. Please give our feedback. It was amazing. It was really worth everyone's time. It was definitely worth my time. I haven't missed a single session, if you noticed. And oh yeah, and I would love to see case studies from everyone. I want to know what, their points of view. I want to know the patients that they worked with, or people in their families that they had an opportunity to, observe and learn from. So even if you are not going to have those presentations anymore, if you could share those case studies on a drive or something, if you could just go through them on our own, that would be amazing. And thank you so much, Riti. I think you all had some staff issues at the back end, and you took over. And thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you, Sharmika. Yes, I am still repeating. If some of you can come up with a focus group, we can definitely start that and get things moving. And regarding the case presentations, yes, actually, what happened for this particular batch was, you already know, there was one other coordinator at initial stages, and then since she left the organization, I had to take over. And in the transition period, we are sorry to say that we lost some of the case presentations. But yes, whichever case presentations I have, I will definitely those in a drive and definitely share with you. I just need 2 to 3 days time for that, because I have to compile that and then share with you. Of course, we can share that. And Swati has asked, will all sessions be available on Pallium site? Yes, of course. The video links are already available in YouTube as public videos only. You can refer them anytime. And the learning materials are being uploaded to IECO platform. I know that the last few sessions have not been uploaded. Those all will be cleared by this weekend. And it will be accessible to you as per the information from the ECHO team. But still, we would strongly recommend that you keep the materials downloaded, because in one batch previously, another doctor's batch, we had this situation of participants not getting access after 2 months. So we would strongly suggest you can keep them downloaded as per your convenience, so that we are not missing it. Okay. Aparna, yes, the current WhatsApp group is going to be very active, because we from Pallium India side will definitely be posting flyers, other news about new courses regularly. Whenever new program is launched, we'll be posting those. We'll be using that WhatsApp group only. So that is there. Narmada, I can see your hand raised.
Yeah, based on the discussion on case presentations, I was wondering if once everyone shares their case presentations again, we could do that, Shripriya. You don't have to go through all the effort of putting them together. You've already done a lot. If we had some time for the group to read up on the case presentations and then come back and have a discussion, that would be great, because that was wonderful when we did that for the 2 or 3 case presentations we did in class. So if we could organize, let's say 1 or 2 more meetings where, everyone doesn't have to present if there's no scope to do that. But if we can just read and come back and ask questions, I feel like everyone put a lot of effort into just getting into all these tiny little details. I feel like what I learned the most in this class was all these nuances that play such an important role in taking care of one's own community. It was great even within this virtual class. Like, I've been reading up on palliative care for a while now, but there's such a difference in hearing questions from the group, hearing comments from the group. Just this whole group has been amazing to interact with, and so insightful and so empathetic. So thank you for this platform. Let us know how we can do something about discussing case studies. Thank you.
Thank you, Damodar. So I will do one thing. I will right away create one Google Drive folder and share the link with you so that you can upload your files into that folder. I hope that sounds great. Okay. So just give me time till tomorrow. I'll create that folder and share the link in the group itself so that all of you can just copy paste your case presentations in that. And once everyone has gone through, we can definitely arrange one session for case discussion. Maybe you can put it in the WhatsApp group itself if, for example, Narmada feels that Shalaka's case has to be taken up for discussion. You can comment it in the WhatsApp group. We will make a note and see everyone's availability and then schedule one session. I believe that would be great. Any other comments?
Yeah, just a short feedback can I give?
Sure, please.
Dr. Uma here. So I learned a lot. I have been, we in our Center for Ethics, we have been teaching ethical issues in palliative care and end of life care. But I was always feeling that there was some deficiency in my teaching in students. So it was a very good eye-opener for me. Looked at it from different perspectives, not just as one patient, but different kinds of patients, the older patients, the children, the vulnerable group, the disabled people. I think that was the highlight where we have touched upon different types of vulnerabilities. And I thank you all for that. And it has really made me feel more confident in taking my sessions henceforth. And the only one addition that you could probably include if it suits you all and to the participants is research in palliative care. So a lot of research is also conducted in palliative care. So probably one session on that could also help. Thank you so much. I learned a lot. I would like to be associated with this, at least in the group. Thank you so much.
Dr. Ma, thank you so much for those feedback. And in case you are particularly personally interested in taking up research, we have a research and innovation department at Pallium India, which is headed by Dr. Srijini. So if interested, you can just leave me a private message in WhatsApp. I will share her contact so that you can take it up without, because I can see the fire in you now when you are talking. So I don't want that to, become less.
Thank you. Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. I'll do that. I'll do that.
Okay. Aparna, you wanted the name of the head of the research department, I guess? Dr. Srijini.
Okay, I'll if you can forward me the details, I'll follow it up. Thank you.
Sure, sure.
Thank you.
I will do that. Anyone else? So if there is nothing more.
Priya,
Yes, Lakshmi.
Priya, I am Lakshmi. I did not attend many sessions, but I am not clear also how this course is being developed, etc. So my question is, what is actually the objective behind this course? Like, what is the, because there are people from different background attending this, and what really are we have learned about many things, and we are spread across different parts of India, and we are working in different professions also maybe, but we are having a common goal. So how we will be able to contribute?
Actually, Lakshmi, we have, as you might be aware, since you are already associated with Pallium, we have specific courses for specific audiences. Like for doctors, we have course focusing on pain management. For nurses, we have a course which focuses on the nursing aspects. But then we thought that only the professionals knowing the aspects of palliative care won't work. The layman also has to understand what palliative care is, how they can support in providing palliative care to someone else. Maybe it could be their family, their friends, someone near to their home. So that was the main intention of us for starting this course. And as you can see, this is a very diverse group. If I can say, like, we already have, I'm proud to say that Shalaka already joined one of our pulmonology group for a talk. If no one has known till now, she could share her perspective to eminent pulmonologists during that day on communication skills. And then we have Indra ma'am, who I suppose will be able to put it in writing. Whatever she had heard here, she can put it in writing and publish. So that is how things work. As you see, all the fingers are different in our hand, and only the 5 fingers together make the hand. So that is what we expect actually. Those who can
So we have
contribute
any
on.
single, yeah, yeah.
Pardon?
So we have any single file where we have these names, their professions, areas of interest, or something like that, where we can commonly
We
check
do have a
and connect?
registration form where we have the personal details of all the participants, but unfortunately our SOPs and guidelines do not allow that. Those are private informations, confidential informations, and so we are not allowed to publicize it. But yes, you have the option of connecting with any participant whom you feel is having your same frequency wavelength. You can connect with them after asking their permission. You can start collaborating with them. That option is there. That is why we had also started like asking for self introduction in the WhatsApp group once, but I think only very few responded to that. So we believe that that might be other people's their own interest, right? Some people would not prefer to disclose their identity or profession to people whom we have not seen. Actually, it is a limitation that ours is a virtual program. So maybe because of that, if people are not willing to disclose their identities, we are forced not to say about that also. So that's how it works.
Okay, so if
On the
whoever is
contrary, Lakshmi,
interested,
you
it is a
can
good
try.
idea.
Yeah, you can try by first introducing yourself in detail so that people who feel interested in your profile, they will automatically get in touch with you. Instead of waiting for others to open up, maybe you can start the trend. Just like I think only 2 or 3 people did that. I can see Sudhir's hand raised.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm Sudesh from Calicut. I just want to know what are the different kinds of activities from Pallium for support in like social support for the patient, especially wheelchair bounded patients.
Sir, if I definitely a very good question, sir. But if I start answering it elaborately, it might take more time. But yes, we have a specific department for that as well. Social works and community engagement. So that department takes care of all the social, spiritual, psychological needs of our patients. That particular department is having a psychologist as well. So initially what we do is our social officers get the registrations. When some patient approaches us, we take the registration, then we do an assessment. What are their specific needs? And then all the activities are carried out based on the specific patient's needs. I will definitely try to answer it to you in elaborate way in direct message. I hope that will be okay for you, sir.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay, ma'am.
I will share it with you. Once I have the entire details, I will definitely share it with you. I guess we can call it a day then. Thank you everyone for all these wonderful 16 sessions. Yes, I joined
so
here.
much.
One more thing, ma'am.
Yes.
I just want to know regarding the certificate issue.
Certificates are, yes. Oh, sorry, I completely forgot about that. We do have, actually, till the previous batch, there were 2 assignments. But this time I am thinking about like converting it to a single assignment and posting. So the assignment will be released by Saturday, and you will have around 7 days window to submit the same. And after that, our plan is to issue the first list of certification by 15 to 20 days after this date. Like you can expect the first list by 15th of June to be precise. If you are meeting all the mandatory prerequisites as mentioned in the start of the program, the first list will be issued by 15th of June. I hope that is clear.
Shripriya, last question.
Yeah.
Is there any course that is suitable to be done after the foundation course, like a follow-on course?
I understand. We have also been trying to launch one advanced course in palliative care as a second part of this. Unfortunately, it has not come to a well-shaped manner yet. Still under work is still under process. And once it is launched, of course, it will be launched. It might take maybe a couple of months more. Once it is launched, we will definitely be sharing the data in this group as well, WhatsApp group as well. And those who are interested can join and pursue that. It is in plan.
Okay, cool. Let us know.
When is your next foundation course, Shripriya? Somebody I know wants to join.
Not yet scheduled, ma'am. Once scheduled, it will be available in the calendar because we are running tight off. As you know, one person already left the organization and 2 more have joined. So I just need the time to train them and then they have to come on track. After that, I will definitely be scheduling one batch again because this batch has that much motivated me as well. Earlier, I was not at all included with this foundation course in palliative care for general public. I used to take care of the FCPM for doctors only. And this is my first batch also as FCPC. So it has been a unique experience for me as well.
Thank you.
So I think I will be signing off for the last time virtually from you all. I hope everyone had a very good learning experience with us. Personally, I also enjoyed interacting with this batch because all of you were so understanding. That is the one thing from my end. Like even if I was late in responding to you, you people understood that there might be something. You were so cooperative for that, and thank you so much for that. So with that note, this is Shripriya signing off from the Tips Echo Hub for the last time. Stay connected, everyone. We will work together and keep our journey ongoing for providing palliative care. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.